Hello and welcome to the Art of Teaching the Whole Child in a Pandemic, Cultivating Trauma-Sensitive Practices for Resilience. This is your Module 6C, Cultivating Connection with Anticipated Needs. So if you're tuning into this video, you are en route to your fourth habit that's going to stick this year. After tuning in last week to week one of this module, you've decided that you would like to spend week two learning more about our connection strategy of the month, which is anticipated needs. So just as a reminder of the disconnection that we're experiencing in this pandemic that's causing relationship building being harder to build with students and developing that trust and rapport that comes so naturally in the school environment. But the good news is research shows us that proactively tending to students' social, emotional, and physical needs can really foster engagement and a sense of belonging in the classroom. Whether you're in person, hybrid, or remote learning right now, there are ways that we can help meet the needs of students for having a sense of belonging in the classroom, as well as promoting their independence with basic personal needs as well. And both of those can build the resilience of students in these difficult times. So our objectives for this module is for you to learn some evidence-based needs anticipating routines, to specify a new habit to use, and to use your daily pulse to monitor those habits and wellness. So you'll need right now about 20 minutes, some clear headspace, your printed or digital journal, so that you can do steps 4 through 6 for this module. And keep in mind that we're using a habit mindset as we move forward. It's one thing to identify this is routine that I like to use or want to use more of, but it's another thing altogether to identify what is the cue, what is the pit, what is the time, the specific places and areas and times of day that I'm going to use this so that I can build more connection into my day with my students. So you're already taking this first step for this module by watching and tuning into this video. I'd encourage you to follow along in your guided notes if you'd like to be able to follow our strategies about anticipating needs. So just as a refresher from the intro video, students must be able to Maslow before Bloom. So we have those basic physiological safety, belonging needs that have to be met to a degree before they can engage in the higher order thinking and learning that we want for all of our students. And unfortunately, at this time, we have more students experiencing declining attendance or motivation, fatigue, restlessness, and work avoidance. And all of these are symptoms that some of those Maslow's hierarchy of needs might not be met at this time for more students than have been in that category in the past. And so it's really important that we think how we can, as educators, help Maslow while we bloom. So we don't wait around and to address all those needs before we engage in the Bloom hierarchy and taxonomy, but we can help meet individual needs on a regular basis. And of course, even if you're not a social worker, at this point, that can be overwhelming at this point of thinking about how to meet all of those needs. But what you can do is one of these three strategies or a number of these that you can integrate into your day to provide a daily dose to your students. You're not going to be able to fix all of those needs at the core of the Maslow hierarchy, but you can provide developmentally appropriate, which means per their developmental age, opportunities. So you're intentionally planning to stack in, so integrating into your everyday routine the essentials that students have to meet those basic physical, social, emotional needs. So there's just these daily doses that you can provide to students, recognizing that students do better academically within systems that meet those needs. So it's ultimately up to you, depending on the pits that you're experiencing, which choice of strategy that you would like to build more peaks of being able to anticipate your students' needs. The first one that we're going to talk about is non-academic connections. What this is scheduled time for positive non-academic activities with and between your students, such as prompted conversation, card and board games, group verbal games. There's a number of reasons for this, but basically at the root of it is kids don't learn from people they don't like. And unfortunately, it's harder to like us when we've spent a lot of the year just through a screen. And so it's really important that we schedule this time for that positive non-academic touch with our students. And in your resources, there will be a document that outlines a number of ideas that you can use to facilitate some of this conversation, some of these games, and some of this fun that you can integrate into your day. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that resource. Included in there are some getting to know you questions that you might pull from, some diving deep questions for students that you already have some connections with. But the big picture goal here is for you to integrate this into your routines, make it part of your day. And a tip for that is potentially to stack a personal question, one of these getting to know you or diving deep questions, into your entry do now steps. So when students come in, First thing, you're hitting the ground running with some positive non-academic interactions. What this can really do for some of your tardy students is maybe hook them a little bit of like saying, oh, I missed out on that fun, getting to know you question, or it really, they feel it paid off for them to be on time to do that. And that's via Zoom, other video calls, in person. Having that hook at the beginning can really promote student engagement, as they might be experiencing declining attendance or motivation at these times. So it really counteracts that fit. And then a pro tip is you don't have to go through everybody. You just have everybody write it down or draw a picture, and then just randomly select a few to share out so that you're getting everyone involved and everyone's anticipating that they could share, but you don't have to go through every single student's answer to the question. We just don't have time for that, but you can get a few involved. And a hybrid tip for those of you who are engaged in hybrid instruction at this time is to add a personal interest question to the asynchronous task list. So when you're sending out lists of things that students need to get done asynchronously, embed in there one of these getting to know you questions. And so it really helps you build that positive to negative interaction ratio that we're looking for, we're really looking to get to know our students and build that rapport. All right, so what if you're in a resource or service room, you're not in the classroom? PSA, a little public service announcement for you, is difficult tasks, which are pretty common in the resource and service rooms because that's what's needed. Those taste better in a sandwich. And what I mean by that is a one-on-one sandwich method that can help boost students' motivation, not only to show up, but to also stay engaged and complete the tasks that you have for them. There's a number of games and activities in the resource that I'll be sharing in the classroom, but the gist of it is that you start your session with them, however brief it is, with some free fun. You say, okay, we're going to play this game for 1 minute, and then we're going to pause. And then we're going to do our task. And if we complete the activities, the tasks that I have for our session today, then we'll finish, we'll play, pick up the game where we left off and finish that activity or conversation or game or whatever it is. But this is a really great tool to help hook students into saying, I want to show up to that session next. And even if if this is the first time that you've seen them in a few weeks, that's all the more reason. You might feel behind with them of like, oh, we have so much to get through and so much to catch up, but this is another reason to hook them, because if they haven't been showing up, that means they probably haven't been enjoying the session as much. And this is a great way to hook them and saying, okay, I do want you to enjoy this work. I know it's not hard. I know it is hard. So I'm going to make it integrate some fun in there. So next strategy is scheduled movement. This is scheduled time to be physically active, such as guided exercises, dance videos, jumping jacks. I'm sure you're thinking about Go Noodle as an example here, but something that's scheduled in the day for them to be active and taking a big brain break. So let's tune into this video here that shows you what this looks like.
Brain break. Who would like to lead us in one of our brain breaks? Brain breaks is a way to stop, give the students an opportunity to transition from one activity to another. We need to move around. And when we do that, blood gets moved around, the oxygen goes to our brain. Everybody needs to have water so that they get oxygen, and they need to hydrate their bodies as well. Yes, go ahead.
Cat.
The cat. Okay, everybody, the cat stretches the back and goes up. A few hops, a few bounces. You're finding humor in that. Okay, good. Let's see. Valerie.
Dog.
The dog. Count 5 alligators.
So you can see she's giving them choice as well in that activity. So they're doing a number of guided exercises, and I encourage you to think about a good opportunity in your dose, developmentally appropriate opportunities to stack these essentials. A good opportunity in elementary school particularly is that bridge back from lunch or recess when they haven't been following your directions, they haven't been a part of your classroom community, they're coming back and you're easing them in with something positive and fun and gets their brain refreshed and renewed to learn. So it's a great opportunity in the elementary room to do that. And then another consideration that you want to think about is the developmental appropriateness. So students are going to start to lose focus on instruction after about 2 to 3 minutes per year of age. So for about a 5-year-old is going to have about a 10 to 15 minute range of focus. And then a 10-year-old is going to need about 20 to 30 minutes. They're going to need a break after that. And so up to about 45 minutes, but thinking about the developmental appropriateness and how long we're getting students through and what we can really realistically expect, them to sustain attention for without some movement in their day. And then, of course, the other opportunity is everyone's afternoon fatigue, that 1 to 2 p.m. time when we are getting tired, everyone's feeling it. That's when we reach for the sugar and the chocolates and stuff. And just keeping that in mind is a great opportunity to use some of these movement breaks. And then if you're doing hybrid learning, of course, consider adding movement to your asynchronous tasks list, just like we did with the connections. Or maybe in your synchronous activities, doing some scavenger hunts to really put some of your remote learners in the spotlight. As of right now, I know a lot of remote learners might be in the minority right now, just a few of them. So this really helps put them in the spotlight and engage them in some movement in their home environment. What about high school or resource and service rooms? I'm sure some of you high school teachers are like, what? I don't know about this stuff. Good thing to integrate into your room potentially is a way to stack it in with building it into your instruction. And so there's a number of ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you one video that highlights this in terms of how we can move this into our high schools.
So to get us warmed up and to get the blood flowing, we're going to do our agree, disagree activity. If you agree, you're going to come walk over here. And then if you disagree, you're going to come move over here. The pick a side strategy is useful for a lot of different ways. Move to the side of the room if you agree or disagree. That characters in books can be like real humans. They're just like real humans. Well, it gets everyone involved instantly. And it's a quick activity just to start getting the blood flowing, getting our minds working for the day. We will then sometimes stop, and especially when kids are on opposite sides, and have one or two share out why. And Xavier in our middle, defend your point.
Some characters can be like humans in certain ways, but say if we're reading a horror book and a character falls right when she getting chased, like that's not something a real human would do, and like stand there before she gets stabbed.
Excellent. Okay, so now I want you guys to pretend like we're Arnold. I usually use cold calling with this because it's just who's on which side. And so they get drawn into the conversation very easily. Would he believe that reading can help us understand ourselves? Agree or disagree? I also use that same activity as a check for their understanding. Kyle, what do you think? Why are you on that side?
Yeah, I feel like he's confused about himself enough. Like, I don't really think anything can help him understand himself.
Perfect. So he's confused. He doesn't know. All right, so let's head back to our seats.
Great explanation of how we can integrate this into our instructional activities, including there's another one that I won't show, but in this situation, the teacher has everyone stand up and they have to remain standing until they share their response to her prompt. And so it's another example of how we can get everyone involved in moving in our instruction. And then if you do want to do one of those guided exercises, then let the students lead that. If in these high schoolers, they might roll their eyes, but if they get to choose it and they get to lead the dance moves or the yoga, then they'll buy in a lot more. And then for those of you in resource rooms, you can still use the sandwich approach by saying, I'm going to do my movement choice, and then you can do the assignment. If we can, once we complete that, then you can have your choice of a movement activity. And when possible, consider that walk and talk when you can, walking through the hallways and taking a loop as you talk through some of those sessions that you might be having with the students. All right, the third strategy that we're going to go through today is needs signals. And so this is taught nonverbal cues for requesting basic needs so that students can regulate their cognitive and physical needs. So it's not just getting water with the signal, putting up a 3, or the restroom, but it's also using the passes, anything that can help them get up and moving to take care of themselves and their needs, but also having that brain break that they might need from time to time. So let's tune into a video that helps capture how this goes into place.
So an 80-minute block of time feels long, I think, to them without any breaks. I try to design my lessons so at least we are doing 2 or 3 different activities within that time. And I started the school year with a bathroom and drink break right in the middle.
Right.
And they had such a hard time pulling back from that and then getting back into the lesson that I really didn't. I've decided, okay, now the first marking period's over. We're ready to move to you just take care of your own biological needs. You know, raise 1 finger or 2 fingers rather if you need help.
Yeah, I saw the 2 fingers.
Yeah.
So what are the signals they use? 1, 2, 3.
Well, we've worked on this since the beginning of the year where they just raise 1 finger for I need help, 2 fingers for I need bathroom or drink of water, and 3 is can I sharpen my pencil? So they look at me, I give them a little eye contact and a nod rather than having a whole conversation and interrupting the flow of the class. So the simple nod gives permission at that moment or not. Go ahead. If you need to sharpen your pencil, go ahead. Not right this minute. I'm giving directions right now, so it's not a good time to go to the bathroom. I love it because I have the option to say no. I know what's about to come. I know if I'm going to give important directions. So I want to, exercise that option.
But it's part of something bigger. It's part of, this is the way we do things. This is how it works. These
Right.
are the rules of the game.
Right.
But, it's respectful too, because usually they're going to get to do what they need to do, but they know how to play.
Exactly.
And so once they know the rules, it's easier for them to be sort of at ease with the way things are.
Right. And just
So you can see that last point landed well. Of it gives them ease about where they are and having those needs met, and it really promotes that self-regulation that many of our students need to develop more of right now. And for some of your students, they might need this even more. So thinking about your opportunities, that's for some of your students you're going to need to be able to cue them with this. So maybe you give them a 2 to suggest that they take a little brain break and go get some water or go to the restroom. And so not every student's going to need the same amount, and some might benefit from you assisting them through that. And keeping in mind that it is developmentally important for students to know that they can have a moment of privacy when it's truly needed, and without having to explain in front of everyone why it's needed. So thinking about the trauma-sensitive approach that we're taking this year, and keeping in mind that it's really important that we help students, empower them with these discrete ways of taking care of the needs that they have at this time. And if you're doing hybrid instruction, I encourage you to consider, what is the protocol for requesting breaks in video calls? And so, I'm sure a lot of your students maybe already take breaks as needed in their video calls, but if you're establishing a norm for that and teaching that, then that can really empower them to find that security and comfort and being able to take that and what that means. How do they communicate with you if that's what they're doing? And then if you're in a resource room, this is maybe even more important. So you're going to have your water, your restroom, your bathroom break protocols in your resource room that you can establish. But then potentially even more important is to think about how they can take other mental brain breaks, because when you're in the resource room or service room, then it's most likely that you're doing some difficult work, and the students are going to need even more frequent little brain breaks here and there. And so developmentally appropriate visual supports embedded in your classroom, your resource room, can really help you remind them and help you pair that with your verbals to provide those frequent reminders of, if you need a break, just take one, so that they don't engage in inappropriate means of getting breaks, of walking away, walking out, getting frustrated and getting disruptive or aggressive, and just keeping in mind that this is likely required in these difficult situations and these difficult lessons that you're delivering in a resource or service room. It requires that extra dose. All right, so ultimately it's up to you, your choice of which of these 3 strategies you'd like to commit to and integrate into your day to provide a daily dose, developmentally appropriate opportunities to stack essentials into your routines with your students. And so once you've identified which one you'd like to integrate, let's get specific and personalize that cue of when you're going to use it and where and how, and build that connection with your students. Keeping in mind that in order to stick with it, it's important to be able to stack this onto an existing habit potentially. So embedding that personal question into your do now routine, keeping it tiny, simple strategies like timed Go Noodle videos. So recognizing, okay, it is overwhelming. You do feel like you're distracting or getting away from instruction to go do these things. But hey, if you got something that's got a timer on it and it's less than 2 minutes, then that's really more tangible to you, and keeping it small and easy for you and not distracting too much from the course of the instruction. But just keep in mind that you're buying time back. When you take these brief breaks, it really refreshes the student's brain so that they can really focus for the remainder of your instruction. Then write it out, maybe a specific student that you think you'll probably need to be suggesting water breaks to more than other students. And then always keep it fun by particularly connecting with the students by participating in the movement break with them. It's so easy to kind of check out while they're doing that, but from time to time, maybe half of the time, include yourself in the movement and get silly with them doing it. That can really help you enjoy this as you meet their needs. And then let's go through some specifics for you. So to help you get your brain flowing, to identify some potential examples here, here are some that I've put together of maybe thinking about The midpoint of the afternoon, when students appear to be fatigued, you're going to do a go noodle exercise with them and allow for those restroom breaks using the need signal. So they're doing both of those strategies in one time and noticing that you're giving students independence and monitoring their own needs. You're meeting their movement needs while helping them be able to take care of other needs. Maybe it's when you see your juniors, your 11th graders getting restless at the 30-minute marker class, recognizing that developmentally they might need a little bit of a break. So you're going to select a student leader to name and model some yoga poses for a timed 2 minutes, and then notice that you're briefly connecting over that shared experience with them while refreshing their brains. Maybe it's after Harmony attends your one-on-one session for the first time in 2 weeks. She's finally been able to show up. So you're going to use that sandwich. So you say, all right, here's the activity of my choice. After we do that, we can do our session task for today. And then when that's completed, we can do your choice of activity. And notice that you're motivating that student's engagement with a personal connection. Maybe it's after you make a list of activities for a remote learning day that you embed some getting to know you questions for the student. So you know you're building that academic and non-academic relationship there, maintaining that social connection during your physical distance. Maybe it's after you see Clay's attention starting to fade from the task. You say, I'm going to use my 2-finger signal to discreetly suggest to him that he takes a restroom break, even though it might not be needed at the time. He just needs to get a little bit of a brain break to help him regulate his physical and mental needs. Maybe it's after you post a do now activity on the screen where the students are often tardy. So you know that you're going to get a lot of tardy students, but you're saying, you know what, if I do this get to know you questions for all the students to write down and maybe have a random 1 to 3 share, you're boosting the motivation for students to be on time. You're building their fear of like, I don't want to miss out on that. That's so much fun to get to know. So you're really embedding that connection at a time that's strategically trying to hook students to be more on time. Maybe it's after you see some signs of declining motivation among your remote learners. They're really getting discouraged. So you can embed a scavenger hunt into the beginning of a lesson to get them moving and have that sense of belonging that even when I'm remote, I can do this and it's a fun part of being included in the classroom community. There's a number of examples that you can find in your journal to help continue to brainstorm and think about what are going to be your next steps. And then I encourage you to share what's your key takeaway, what's going to be your personal habit plan to be able to make this stick for you. And I would encourage you to use your daily pulse to monitor that, and then use your pulse chart to keep an eye on how this is going for you. And if you have any questions or have any needs, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I look forward to hearing how you're going to continue to anticipate students' needs in these interesting times with the strategies that we've discussed today. So thanks so much, and I look forward to working with you.